Hello everyone and welcome. This is Christine with Patter Crafts, and today I'll be making 4 cards using the Flavor of the Month card kit by Scrapping for Less. This is the June 2020 card kit and it is called A Walk in the Park. So my first card here, I'm using sketch number 1 and collection number 1. Collection number 1 is Picnic Time, and the paper and the stamp set in this collection are both under the same name, Picnic Time. I'd like to point out that sketch number 1 isn't Scrapping for Less sketch challenge number 6. This was sketched by Crystal Minkler, who is one of the members of the design team. So that's exciting to see a SFL card sketch. So I've trimmed down my little ants and in a triangular fashion as shown in the sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and add that on to my pattern paper here. This red gingham paper, I am using some red strips just to kind of separate the two patterns. And I do not use liquid glue because I find that if the liquid glue seeps outside of those edges, I can see it, and that kind of annoys me. So I'm using my tape runner, and then when those are down, I just go ahead and rub that off with my finger. So this collection also comes with some great ephemera, and I chose the bucket of chicken because I think it's adorable. So I don't generally have food as a focal point on my cards, but when I looked through the ephemera pieces, I was like, this needs the bucket of chicken. I think it's because the ants are there with their holding their little chicken pieces, so it worked out perfectly. So for the inside of my card, I'm just going to stamp the sentiment found in the stamp set and add a little bit of this strawberry lemonade ephemera piece to the bottom left. Now, I realized, well, I saw this before and I wasn't sure if I was going to take off this little tiny strip of the card base, but I did decide to go ahead and do that. And once that is complete, the card is all set. I did add a couple of the enamel dots that I received in my card kit on the card. They were clear, so they didn't really show up in the video, but you can see them in person. So moving on to collection number 2, this is Let's Hang Out. The pattern paper is Monkey Around, and that is by Scrapping for Less, and the stamp set is Let's Hang Out by Scrapping for Less. So I'm using sketch number 3 because I thought it was the best way to showcase this fabulous pattern paper. And I liked that this particular sketch already had the dimensions, so it was really easy just to trim down my pattern paper. I apologize. It seems like everything is super noisy tonight. So if you can hear all that background noise, I apologize. So similar to what I did with the first card, I grabbed some brown cardstock here because I'm going to put a little strip of brown cardstock between the patterns. When it's down, I don't really know if it makes as big a difference as I thought it would. I certainly am not going to take it off, but I don't necessarily think it was probably needed either. But we're going to just keep moving on. So we're going to go ahead, take off all the little excess little bits of glue there, and let's stamp out this little image. Pulling out some colored cardstock from my stash. This is a really light tannish color. It also is very thin, and the texture is a little bit different than the usual white cardstock that I stamp my images on in color. I chose this for 2 reasons. One, I'm trying to use up the cardstock that I have. Like all this older stuff, it's kind of thin. I won't use it for card bases, and I don't do a lot of Cricut stuff anymore, so I don't really use it like I used to. It did okay with the Copic coloring, but I don't think on this particular type of paper you could do a lot of blending. I don't know if it can really hold the ink very well, so I just colored it super basic. Basically just using single colors. I'm not doing any kind of fancy blending. So I used just a C5 Copic marker for the monkey bars. I used just a single green Copic marker for my little grass bits. I'm using 2 different browns for my little monkey friends. And I'm using a little pink in the ears, and I bring in a little bit of red for their tongue. And this is all the coloring I do for this image. I debate whether or not I'm going to put this image on some brown pattern paper. I end up not doing that. I didn't think it was really needed. This kind of pops on its own from all of the pattern paper behind it. The pattern paper behind it is much darker. So I'm going to go ahead and add a mat to the inside of my card. And at this point, I really don't know if I want to do any more to it. So I went ahead and put it aside. I can always add 2. I can't necessarily take away. So I will kind of let it hang out and see what I feel like when the time comes to use that card. So moving on to collection number 3. Collection number 3 is called Pond Life. I am using sketch number 4, which is a square card. I grabbed some black cardstock from my stash because I had already cut down all of the cardstock from the card kit into A2 size card bases. So I needed to grab another piece from my stash in order to create this particular sketch, which was, in the end, I really love the way this card turned out. So I am trimming down the pattern paper and I'm matting it all on a similar black cardstock. This is a really thin cardstock. I think it's like 65 pound. Again, from the stash that I'm trying to use up. And I'm matting everything because the patterns are really fun in this collection, but they kind of get lost if they're on one another without some sort of mat. I really want each pattern to kind of stand out on its own. So that is why everything is on a mat. So we're going to go ahead and start putting those all together. I just love this frog paper. It's so darn cute. And because I love that frog paper and it's so darn cute, that in the sketch it shows this little white rectangle that you could, put your scene, an image, whatever, card sketches, or just kind of give you an idea. So my idea was I'm going to create a scene and I'm going to fussy cut this scene out, and that is going to be that piece of the sketch. So I'm using like the little pond from the stamp set, my frog, and my little boat. Once those are all down, I'm going to go ahead and make a mask for my frog and my boat so that I can stamp the cattails kind of behind them. So I'm masking those 2 off, adding my little cattails, and then I'll go ahead and take the masks off. I do not color this on video because it did take a little bit of time, and I already showed some coloring of a few other images in this video. I'm going to put those masks aside. I could always use them on another day, and by magic of YouTube, here is the finished scene that's all colored and been fussy cut. On the sketch, it shows a little circle to the right, lower right of that white rectangle, and I chose to add 3 of the flowers that come in this collection. So now that the front of my card is done, I need to put something on the inside. So this is that point in the video where I measured my paper wrong and it doesn't fit. So let's grab another sheet and let's try this again. Second time, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and add this right onto the inside of my card. I'm going to grab one of the sentiments from the stamp set, stamp that down, and also the little frog. And that will do it for card number 3. So moving on to card number 4. Card number 4 is on the playground. The pattern paper and the stamp set are both by Scrapping for Less. I think I forgot to mention that the pattern paper is from Scrapping for Less on collection number 3, but the stamp set is a collaboration between Scrapping for Less and Tawny Owl Papery, aka Crystal Minkler. She is super talented and has been doing a lot of this sort of design work, and she always amazes me. All right, now let's get back to card number 4. So I'm using sketch number 2 as my sketch for this one. So I've trimmed down my main panel, a couple of fun strips. This particular collection, the paper is so bright and fun. So on that particular sketch, there's like this little fishtail banner piece that's very thin on one end and thick on another end. I do trim that out with that arrow yellow paper, but you'll also see my first one's a little short, so I have to end up cutting that out 2 times. I probably should have, I don't know, measured that a little bit before I did it. Sometimes I'm just going along. Sometimes I'm watching videos or TV and I'm just crafting and not always paying attention to what I'm doing. It's some days I'm a little crazy. So I stamped the image for this from this stamp. Boy, now I can't talk. Okay, so I stamped the image from this collection onto this mini scallop circle, and I'm going ahead and coloring it 3 different colors. Now, playground equipment nowadays is way more fun than playground equipment when I was growing up. When I was growing up, it was basically wood and metal. Kids nowadays have these fun colors, like playgrounds are eye-catching. And that was my thought. The paper is very bright and colorful, so my slide is going to be very bright and colorful. I'm not doing too much shading. What I'm doing is just laying down one layer of color, like the red, and then I'm bringing in a dark red, and then just adding a few lines where I think there would be some shadows. Same thing with the green and the yellow. I'm basically laying down one color, and then bringing in a darker color to just kind of add a little bit of shading. So once that is all set, I'm going to go ahead and work on my inside panel before I put everything together, just grabbing the sentiment from the stamp set, putting it right there in the middle, and using a little London Fog Memento ink to stamp that slide right over the sentiment. So now we'll go ahead and put my front panel on the card. Add our little fun fishtail banner piece, and then I'm going to pop up my slide on 2 pieces of foam tape. Once that is all set, I'm just adding a little bit of white gel pen to where I went outside of the lines. It's a great way to, you know, clean up your coloring. And then I'm going to grab the sequins from this collection, and I'm going to add 3 of these bright pink ones. Because I felt like this little corner needed just a little something, because it feels like all the other corners have something going on. And of course, this is the only card I did actually do this for. I actually didn't add Wink of Stella or Spectrum Noir glitter brush anywhere else but this card. So that is my 4th card for today. So thank you so very much for joining me today. There is a hop going on for the June card kit. I'll leave a link in the description below. If you're interested in the kit, I'll leave a link to that as well, and also to the Scrapping for Less store. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more and you have not already, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell if you want to know when I upload. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you. Bye.